Libra, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? Not because everything was fine, but because you finally stopped pretending it was. You've been holding the balance for so long, smoothing the tension, swallowing your truth, choosing harmony even when it cost you sleep, breath, and pieces of yourself. And lately, there's this quiet pressure inside your chest. Not panic, not fear, just a knowing that something has reached its limit. This isn't coincidence. This isn't random timing. After years of giving, of waiting, of staying quiet, to keep things fair, this moment found you for a reason. If this is already touching something personal, leave a comment. Stay with me. And most of all, trust yourself. Because what comes next is not small. Libra, stay right here with me. I want to talk to you the way I would talk to a close friend, late at night, when the world finally gets quiet. No noise, no pressure. Just truth, gently spoken. You don't say it out loud, but I can feel it in you. That tiredness that doesn't come from work, or age, or lack of sleep. It's a deeper kind of fatigue, the kind that settles into your shoulders, into your chest, into the pauses between your breaths. You've been holding things together for a long time. Not because you were asked, but because you knew how. You noticed when energy shifted in a room. You sensed when someone was uncomfortable, unsteady, on edge. And without thinking, you adjusted yourself, softened your words, delayed your needs, smiled when something inside you tightened. That's the Libra way. You carry balance like a quiet responsibility. You keep the scales steady, even when one side is clearly heavier. And over time, that adds up. What no one really sees is how often you chose peace for others while your own inner world stayed restless. How many times you told yourself, just a little longer. Just one more compromise. Just one more conversation you didn't want to have. Just one more feeling you pushed down because it seemed easier. But lately something has shifted. It's not dramatic. It doesn't scream for attention. It feels more like a weight you suddenly notice you've been carrying for years. And the thought arrives quietly, almost gently. I've done enough. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity. You start to realize this exhaustion didn't come from loving too much. It came from loving without being met halfway. From giving without being fully received. From constantly translating yourself so others could stay comfortable. And here's the part I want you to hear, Libra. This tiredness is not weakness. It's wisdom arriving. Because this isn't a temporary burnout. It's the body and the soul agreeing on the same truth at the same time. That something has been out of balance for far too long. You may even feel confused by it. Wondering why rest doesn't fix it. Why distraction doesn't quiet it. Why you can't just reset and move on like you always have. That's because this isn't about energy. It's about alignment. There's a moment that comes in life when silence stops protecting you. When staying agreeable starts costing more than speaking honestly. When the universe gently but firmly places its hand on your back and says, you can't keep shrinking here, and that's where you are now. Not broken, not lost, just standing at the edge of a deeper truth. If you feel that tightness in your chest as I say this, that's not fear, that's recognition. Your inner world is waking up to itself again. Take a breath with me here. Slow, grounded, because what's happening isn't about conflict. It's about permission. Permission to stop carrying what was never meant to be yours alone. And as this awareness settles in, something else begins to stir. A question you haven't fully allowed yourself to ask yet. One that changes everything once it's spoken. And that question is exactly where this story is leading next. Libra, come a little closer. This part is just between you and me. There's something you've been circling around for a while now. You feel it when the room goes quiet, when the conversation ends too politely, when you lie awake and replay words you never said. You already know what it is. You've known for longer than you admit. There is a conversation waiting, not loud, not explosive, just heavy with truth, and you keep postponing it, Not because you're confused, not because you lack the right words, but because you understand the weight words can carry. You know how deeply people feel. You know how easily a single sentence can crack something fragile. So you pause, you soften, you tell yourself it can wait, and for a while that works. But silence has a cost. It always does. Each time you choose not to speak, something tightens inside you, not all at once. Slowly, like a knot pulled one thread at a time. You start to feel it in your body, in the way your shoulders don't drop anymore, in the way your breath stays shallow, in the way you listen to someone speak and realize you're no longer fully there. You're present, but not honest, and that hurts you more than you want to admit. Because Libra, you were never meant to disappear inside peacekeeping. You were meant to create harmony, not self-erasure. There's a difference. You didn't avoid this conversation to deceive anyone. You avoided it because you cared. Because you didn't want to be the one who disrupts the balance. Because you feared being seen as difficult, unfair, too much. But here's the quiet truth. The balance you've been protecting isn't real anymore. It's a fragile stillness built on your restraint. And your soul knows it. That's why this moment feels so uncomfortable. So intimate. So unavoidable. You're not being pushed to speak because you're wrong. You're being nudged because you're ready. Ready to say something without apologizing for its existence. Ready to name what hasn't been named. Ready to admit that pretending everything is fine has been costing you pieces of yourself. And I want you to hear this clearly. Saying the truth does not make you cruel. It makes you whole. There is a way to speak that doesn't wound. A way to be honest without being harsh. And you already know how to do it. You've just been waiting for permission. That pressure you feel right now isn't fear of conflict. It's the tension between who you've been and who you're becoming. Take a breath here. Let it settle. Because once you allow yourself to acknowledge this truth, something shifts. The conversation stops being a threat and starts becoming a doorway, not to chaos, but to clarity. And as you stand here, on the edge of saying what matters, something unexpected begins to reveal itself. A realization about where your energy has been flowing, about how much you've been giving, and about why your heart feels so uneven lately. And that awareness, that gentle, uncomfortable awareness, is what we step into next. Libra, listen to this part slowly. Let it land. There is a moment when you begin to notice the unevenness. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic way. It shows up quietly, in the smallest exchanges. You are the one who adjusts your tone first. You are the one who reads the room and shifts your energy. You are the one who says it is fine even when it is not. And for a long time, that felt natural. Almost noble. Because giving came easily to you. Understanding came easily. Making space for others felt like love. But something changed. You started to feel tired in places that rest could not reach. You noticed that your kindness was being assumed instead of appreciated. That your effort had become expected. Invisible. Unquestioned. You began to realize that you were always stepping toward others, while they stayed exactly where they were. And that realization does something to the heart. It makes you pause. It makes you look back at moments you brushed off too quickly. Times when you minimized your needs because it felt easier. Times when you carried the emotional weight alone so no one else had to feel uncomfortable. Libra, this is not about blame. It is about awareness. Because there is a difference between generosity and imbalance. Between love and obligation. Between harmony and self-abandonment. You gave because you cared. But somewhere along the way, the giving stopped being a choice. It became a habit, a role, a responsibility you never officially agreed to, but kept fulfilling anyway. And that is where the imbalance lives. Not in what you offered, but in what was never returned. You can feel it now. In the way conversations leave you drained instead of nourished. In the way you hesitate before asking for support. In the way your heart quietly wonders what it would feel like to be met halfway. This is a hard truth to face, Because it challenges the story you have told yourself. That being fair means giving more. That being loving means enduring quietly. That balance means you bending just a little further each time. But real balance does not ask you to disappear. Real balance includes you. And when this understanding settles in, something shifts, not outwardly, inwardly. You stop justifying the unevenness. You stop explaining it away. You stop telling yourself it is not that bad. You start asking a different question. Not how can I fix this? But why am I the only one trying? That question is powerful, because it does not demand immediate action. It simply opens your eyes. And once your eyes are open, you cannot unsee it. You begin to feel a subtle pull, a curiosity, a sense that life might feel lighter if you did not have to carry everything alone. This is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of clarity. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming more honest. And as this honesty grows, quietly and steadily, something else starts to appear on the horizon. Not as a solution, not as a promise, but as a possibility. A different way of being, a different rhythm, a different kind of connection. And as you recognize the imbalance for what it truly is, you create space. Space for something new to step in, gently, naturally. And that is where the next part of this journey begins. Libra, let this part arrive gently. After you begin to notice the imbalance, something subtle happens. Not outside of you. Inside. It feels like air moving through a room that has been closed for too long. Not a rush. Just enough to remind you how breathing is supposed to feel. You may not even recognize it at first. There is no announcement, no dramatic entrance, no moment where everything suddenly makes sense. It arrives quietly, maybe through a conversation that feels unexpectedly calm. Maybe through a thought that keeps returning when you least expect it. Maybe through a moment alone where you realize your shoulders have dropped for the first time in a long while. And you pause. Because something feels different. This presence does not ask you to perform. It does not need you to explain yourself. It does not pull at you or demand your energy. It simply exists. And in its presence, you feel less tense, more open, more like yourself. For some of you, this may be a person. Someone who listens without fixing. Who meets you where you are instead of where they need you to be. Someone whose energy feels steady, not consuming. For others, it may not be a person at all. It may be a new way of moving through your days. A quieter morning. A different rhythm. A decision to stop rushing toward expectations that never truly belong to you. And for some, Libra, it is even deeper than that. It is a version of you that has been waiting patiently beneath the surface. The one who does not negotiate their worth. The one who does not apologize for needing rest. The one who remembers what it feels like to take up space without guilt. What matters is not what this new presence looks like. What matters is how it makes you feel. There is relief here. Not excitement that overwhelms you. Relief that steadies you. You realize that peace does not have to be earned through sacrifice. That connection does not have to feel heavy. That balance can exist without you constantly adjusting yourself. And for the first time in a long time, your nervous system recognizes safety. This is not an escape, it is a return. A return to the parts of you that were never meant to be traded for approval. A return to the quiet truth that you are allowed to feel supported. A return to your own inner rhythm. You might catch yourself questioning it, wondering if it is real, if it will last, if you are allowed to want it. That hesitation is understandable. You have been the one holding things together for so long that ease can feel unfamiliar. But ease does not mean fragile. Sometimes it means aligned. And as this gentle presence settles into your awareness, you begin to notice something else. You are not shrinking around it. You are expanding. Your thoughts feel clearer. Your breath feels deeper. Your choices begin to feel less like compromises and more like reflections of who you are becoming. This is not about abandoning the past. It is about recognizing that something new does not have to fight its way into your life. Sometimes it enters because you finally made room. And as you sit with this feeling, as you let it soften you without rushing it, you may sense the quiet truth underneath it all. That you are standing at the edge of a different chapter. One that does not demand struggle to prove its worth. Stay with this feeling. Let it show you what alignment feels like. Because what comes next is not about choosing yet. It is about listening to what this new light is revealing inside you. Libra, stay with me here. This is where the tension lives, not outside of you. Inside, you can feel it pulling you in two directions at once. Like standing in a doorway, one hand resting on something familiar, the other reaching towards something you cannot fully see yet. On one side, there is history, shared routines, unspoken agreements, responsibilities you've carried for so long they almost feel like part of your identity. There are people, expectations, roles that know you as the one who stays, the one who understands, the one who doesn't walk away easily. And there is a quiet voice that says, if you leave, something might fall apart. That voice sounds responsible, mature, reasonable, but then there is the other side, and it doesn't speak as loudly. It shows up as a feeling instead, a sense of honesty you haven't allowed yourself to fully touch. Moments when you imagine what it would feel like to live without constantly editing yourself. To respond instead of react. To choose without calculating how everyone else will feel first. That side doesn't promise certainty. It doesn't guarantee outcomes. It simply offers truth. And that is what makes this so difficult. Because Libra, you are not afraid of effort. You are not afraid of commitment. You are not afraid of doing the right thing. You are afraid of hurting people you care about. You are afraid of being misunderstood. You are afraid that choosing yourself might look like selfishness to those who benefited from your silence. So you pause. You weigh. You replay scenarios late at night. You tell yourself you just need more time. But here is what I want you to hear gently. You are not weak for feeling this pull. You are not confused because you lack clarity. You are conflicted because your heart has outgrown a situation your loyalty kept alive. Your kindness kept things stable for a long time. Your patience held everything together. But that same kindness has also kept you in places where your truth had to wait. And waiting has a cost. You may notice it now in subtle ways. A heaviness when you think about staying exactly as things are. A quiet relief when you imagine stepping into something more honest, even if it is uncertain. That contrast is important, because it tells you where your energy wants to go. You have been taught that strength looks like endurance. That fairness means staying balanced no matter the weight. But there is another kind of strength, Libra. The kind that listens to inner truth, even when it complicates the surface. This moment is not asking you to decide everything. It is asking you to acknowledge something you have been carrying silently. That the familiar is no longer nourishing you the way it once did. That responsibility without reciprocity slowly turns into self-neglect. And that awareness changes the conversation inside you. You start to see that staying is also a choice. And so is leaving. But only one of them allows you to breathe fully again. There is grief here. Of course there is. Letting go of a familiar version of life always carries a sadness, even when that life no longer fits. But there is also honesty, and relief, and the beginning of self-respect. As you sit with this inner tension, something important begins to surface. A realization that this struggle did not appear overnight, that it has been building quietly across years of compromise, growth, and learning. And as that realization settles, you may sense it. That this is not just another crossroads. This is something deeper. This is where a long cycle reaches its understanding. Where time itself seems to lean in. And that feeling, that weight, that clarity is the first sign that a much bigger moment is preparing to reveal itself. Next, Libra. This is the moment where everything softens and sharpens at the same time. There is no explosion here. No dramatic ending. just a quiet certainty settling into your bones. You wake up one day and realize you are not angry anymore. Not fighting. Not trying to fix. You are simply done forcing yourself to stay where your spirit has already finished its work. That realization can feel strange at first. Almost empty, like standing in a room after the music has stopped. But listen closely. That silence is not loss. It is completion. There are relationships in life that are not wrong. They were never mistakes. They served a purpose. They taught you how to love, how to compromise, how to show up when things were uncomfortable. And you did that. You showed up fully. Again and again. You stayed longer than most people would have. You listened when it was hard. You tried to understand when it would have been easier to walk away. So when this moment arrives, it does not come with guilt. It comes with truth. You look back, and you can honestly say, I learned everything this chapter had to teach me. I gave what I was meant to give. I grew in all the ways I was supposed to grow. That is not failure. That is mastery. There is a deep maturity in knowing when effort turns into endurance. When love turns into obligation. When staying turns into self-sacrifice. And Libra, you are not here to sacrifice yourself to prove your worth. You were never meant to carry everything forever. This moment is not about giving up, it is about recognizing that pushing past your own limits does not make you noble. It only makes you tired. You feel it now, in the way your body responds to certain thoughts. How your chest tightens when you imagine continuing as you were. How your breath deepens when you imagine choosing something truer. That contrast is your wisdom speaking. You may grieve what is ending. That is natural. Grief does not mean regret. It means you cared deeply. But underneath that grief, there is something steady and calm. A sense of rightness you cannot explain to anyone else. Because this decision is not for them. It is for you. After so many years of adjusting yourself to keep things balanced, you finally understand that balance cannot exist without you in it. You are not walking away because you failed. You are stepping forward because you have finished, and that takes courage. The kind of courage that does not announce itself. The kind that does not need permission. The kind that simply says, I choose to honor what I know now. This is what 20 years really brings. Not bitterness, not hardness, but clarity. A clear understanding that your time, your energy, your heart are sacred, and they deserve to be placed where they are met with respect. As this truth settles in, you may notice something surprising. You feel lighter. Not because everything is resolved, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. That is the beginning of real freedom. And as you stand here, grounded in what you have learned, something else starts to gently call your attention forward. Not a demand, an invitation. An invitation to move without forcing, to trust without controlling, to step into what unfolds next with openness instead of fear. And that quiet invitation, that subtle shift in energy, is where this journey continues. Libra, take a breath with me here. Slow, unforced. Something changes when you stop trying to manage every outcome. Not overnight, not loudly, but in a way your body recognizes before your mind does. You've spent so long anticipating reactions, adjusting timelines, holding space for everyone else's comfort, that control became second nature, almost invisible. You told yourself it was responsibility, maturity, love, but control, even when it comes from care, still tightens the chest, still keeps the nervous system on alert, still asks you to stay braced instead of open. And now, after everything you've learned, after everything you've released, you feel something inside you loosen. You stop rehearsing conversations that may never happen. You stop mapping every possible future just to feel safe in the present. You stop asking yourself what you should do next. And for a moment, that feels terrifying, because without control, there is space. And space feels unfamiliar when you've lived in tension for so long. But stay here. Do not rush to fill it. Notice how the air feels different when you are not gripping the wheel. How your breath drops lower. how your thoughts slow down, how your heart stops racing ahead of itself. This is what trust feels like before it becomes comfortable. Trust does not mean you suddenly understand the entire path. It does not require certainty. It does not ask you to see 10 steps ahead. It simply asks you to acknowledge one truth: that the road you were on no longer fits who you are becoming. And that is enough. You do not need to know where this new current leads. You only need to know that fighting it has become exhausting. That forcing clarity has kept you from peace. That holding on has started to feel heavier than letting go. When you release control, you do not lose direction. You regain sensitivity. You start to feel what aligns and what drains, what opens you and what constricts you, what invites growth and what keeps you circling the same lesson. This is a quieter intelligence, a deeper guidance, one that does not shout or demand. It nudges. You may notice signs that you would have ignored before. Moments of ease, unexpected calm, a sense of being supported without needing to orchestrate it. And that is not luck. That is alignment responding to your openness. You are not giving up responsibility. You are releasing the illusion that everything depends on you. And that is where freedom begins. Freedom is not chaos. It is flow. It is trusting that you can respond instead of control. That you can choose without forcing. That you can move forward without carrying the past on your back. As you allow yourself to soften into this new rhythm, something gentle unfolds. Your intuition becomes clearer. Your decisions feel lighter. Your inner voice grows steadier. You realize that you are not being pulled anymore. You are being guided. And the more you trust this current, the more it carries you toward places where effort is replaced by resonance, where connection does not require sacrifice, where balance includes your well-being, not just everyone else's. Stay open here. Do not rush to define what comes next. Because when you finally allow yourself to trust the flow instead of steering against it, you begin to recognize something else entirely. That there is a place, a connection, a way of being, where you do not have to translate yourself to be understood. And when you open your heart in the right direction, the answer you have been waiting for meets you there naturally. Libra, let this final part settle slowly. There is no rush anymore. After everything you have felt, released, and understood, one truth remains. Simple, quiet, unavoidable. You deserve to be loved in a way that meets you. You were born to connect, to see beauty from multiple angles, to feel the subtle shifts in energy between people, to create harmony where others only see contrast. But connection was never meant to be one-sided. Somewhere along the way, you learned how to adapt so well that people stopped noticing how much you were giving. They felt your presence. They relied on your steadiness. But they did not always return it. And for a long time, you told yourself that was enough. That being needed was a form of love. That keeping things balanced mattered more than being fully seen. But your heart has grown wiser now. You can feel the difference between attention and appreciation, between attachment and respect, between someone leaning on you and someone standing with you. That awareness did not come easily. It came through years of listening, of adjusting, of loving deeply, even when it was not fully returned. And now, something inside you has shifted. You no longer want to convince anyone of your worth. You no longer want to shrink your needs so others can stay comfortable. You no longer want to translate your feelings into something easier for others to accept. You want resonance. You want to be chosen without hesitation, to be heard without explanation, to be valued without conditions. And here is the part that matters most, Libra. Releasing what does not honor you is not an act of rejection. It is an act of respect. For yourself. When you let go of what no longer sees you, you create space. Space for conversations that feel mutual, for connections that feel nourishing, for love that does not ask you to prove your devotion through endurance. This space is not empty, it is fertile. It holds the potential for relationships where your presence is welcomed, not managed. where your honesty is appreciated, not feared, where your softness is met with care, not expectation. This moment did not arrive by accident. It came because you are ready to stop surviving connection and start experiencing it. Because you have learned the difference between keeping peace and being at peace. Because your soul no longer accepts half measures. You may still feel tenderness as you look back. That is natural. Tenderness means you lived fully. But notice what else is here now. A steadiness, a calm confidence, a quiet knowing that you will not abandon yourself again. This is what it feels like when alignment replaces effort. When love becomes reciprocal. When balance includes your heart. And as you stand here, at the end of this chapter, do not rush forward. Let this truth anchor itself inside you. Because the next connections you allow into your life will feel different. They will feel lighter, clearer, more honest, and you will recognize them not by intensity, but by peace. So stay with that feeling. Let it guide you. Libra, can you believe that this time, you are not here to sacrifice yourself, but to be chosen fully and without question? Libra, before you go, stay with me for just a few more breaths. If this message found you tonight, or this morning, or in a quiet moment you didn't plan for, that was not an accident. Something inside you was ready to hear this, ready to stop carrying, ready to stop balancing everything alone, ready to remember that your heart matters too. This is not the end of a story. It's the end of an old agreement you made with yourself. The one where you believed love meant sacrifice, where peace meant silence, where harmony meant you disappearing just a little more each time. You don't have to do that anymore. What you're stepping into now is softer but stronger, calmer but truer. And if any part of this felt personal, if you felt seen, or understood, or quietly relieved, leave a comment below. Let your voice be part of this space. This is how Libra energy heals best. Through connection, through honesty, through knowing you're not alone. If this message helped you, even in a small way, give it a like. And if you're walking this journey with us, subscribe and stay close. There is more unfolding, more clarity, more truth, more balance that finally includes you. Most of all, Libra, trust yourself. You've learned enough, you've given enough, you are ready. And as the next chapter begins to reveal itself, remember this feeling, this calm, this knowing, because the journey isn't over. The next message is already on its way.